time, show the narrative. Again, there's some specific issues, show the narrative, what he's doing thematically of what he is doing. Again, disgraceful and shameful, un-American. Un-American. So again, we always have this debate whether we go show the narrative, opportunity, again, security, some specific issues, all of those things, or specific thematically pieces of legislation. We do both. Disgraceful and shameful.
Why didn't that message work in the last election, do you think? I mean, I hear Democrats now say we have to really focus on the middle class and have policies that benefit the middle class. Having covered Democratic policies, you can say objectively that Democrats did have policies that benefited the middle class, and Joe Biden spent a lot of political capital passing them into law, and yet it didn't seem to resonate, didn't connect with the American people in this last election.
Well, let me quote Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln, Jeff, he said, public sentiment is everything. With it, you can accomplish almost anything. Without it, practically nothing. Yes, the president was great on these issues, but we spent a lot of political capital passing these legislation because the Republicans were mischaracterizing them the way they usually do. And not one of them voted for anything like our rescue package would put money in pockets, shots in arms, children in school safely, people back to work. With our infrastructure plan, we had 13 Republicans who voted with us in the House of Representatives. The CHIPS Act, 24 Republicans. That means close to 200 each time voted against us. And then the IRA, not one Republican. So the Democrats, I'm very proud of the courage of the Democrats, House and Senate, for putting these forth, even in light of how they were mischaracterized by the Republicans, but really not put forth very clearly by the White House. A president, I think they assumed that the public understood what was happening, but you can assume nothing in all of this. And I think that one thing that I think would have been different in the election, if people knew. Public sentiment only works if people know. That's what is sentiment, that people know. And so, yes, our lives are about working for the middle class. The middle class in our country is the backbone of our democracy. The middle class in our country has a union label on it, I want to add, because all the things over time, starting over 100 years ago, that has helped build this middle class sprang from working with the union movement as well. So it is, and not even many of the people in the union, some in the union movement didn't even realize what was at stake for them in this election. So we just assume nothing, make sure people know, repeat. And our chairman, our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, is a master of this. Repetition, prioritize, and repeat. Repetition, repetition, repetition. He's so eloquent. He's so forceful in getting the message across. And you know what? He's going to make things different too by using different platforms. When I was leader, we won in 06, we won in 18. But now we have different platforms that taking messages to platforms where people receive their information much more instantaneously. And he understands all of that. I'm so proud of his leadership. He has the unity of our caucus, the brilliance and the strategic thinking of a leader, and again, values that would be reflected in a budget put forth by the Democrats.
And Leader Jeffries is among a new generation of Democratic leadership. As someone who has held leadership roles for so long in the party, how do you think about generational change?
Well, I'm an advocate for it. I was very, very proud to step aside. I wish that we had been in the majority. We will be in about 18 months. And the point is, when I became the leader after Dick Gephardt, he very graciously, when I became leader, he did not interfere, and I don't interfere. It's about a new generation of leadership, of thinking differently, employing the different tools of communication that exist now, and again, having the unity of the caucus to support what you're doing, not only as you as leader, but the legislation that you would put forth, and clearly being messengers across the country about how, what a difference a Democrat makes in the lives of the American people.
You have filed paperwork in pursuit of a 21st term. Does that also mean you're going to campaign, actively campaign, and run again?
It means I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Democrats win the House of Representatives and hopefully with that, the United States Senate. It's really important, as we did in 18, it's really important that we stop Trump in his, what he's doing. He won in 16, we won in 18. We won 40 seats, 31 of them in Trump districts, because we were committed to making it right for the American people, for working families in our country. And that's what I'm about. You can't really engage in the political arena in terms of mobilization and fundraising and the rest unless you at least take the steps to be a candidate.
But will you pursue another term actively, or might this be it for you?
Well, I'm not here to talk about that today. I'm here to talk about how we are one day at a time, bringing us closer to a Democratic victory. Whatever it takes to make that happen, because it is very important for our democracy, for our children. My whole purpose in politics is about the children. I went from housewife to member of the House of Representatives because of for the children. 1 in 5 children in America living in poverty, going to sleep hungry at night. No, I had to go engage in that fight, and that's what I've been about there. But this isn't about me. This is about our new leadership. It's about our courageous members of the House. We would never have had those bills without their courage. And too bad that the public, when somebody doesn't get a message, it's not because of them. It's because of us who are delivering the message, that we did not deliver it clearly enough. Especially since everything we did was for working families, to lower the cost for them of health care and housing, and you name it. This guy comes along and says he's going to lower prices. He hasn't. He's going to do this, he's going to do that, all smokescreen. But we have to make sure the public knows what is in their interest. Their kitchen table interest, the cost of health care and prescription drugs, the cost of education, the cost of housing, all of it. And compare where the Democrats are and where the Republicans are on all of it. And as I say, not only Hakeem, but the rest of the leadership, Catherine Clark, I'm in Massachusetts, her state, Pete Aguilar from California, Ted Lieu from California, so many, all champions on messaging and champions for working families.
You know,
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Back to the matter of policy, Social Security and Medicare are at risk of funding shortfalls within the next decade, and you hear Republicans proposing deeper work requirements for a lot of social safety net programs. What do you make of that? And if you disagree with that idea, what's the Democratic counter-argument for it?
Counter-argument is what we have. We have a safety net of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. When they say that people on Medicaid who are getting it because of disabilities should be having a work requirement, or poor children who depend, a large number of poor children in our country depend on Medicaid for their health care, and they should go to work. I mean, really, their families should go to work. Moms who are taking care of these children, the rest. So these are not sweeping declarations. You have a sick child, you should go to work. I do also think, though, that there's so much more we can do as a country, and we tried to do it in the last, under the Biden administration, but when we lost the House, we lost that opportunity, but we'll get it back. And that is, for families, we must have affordable child care, paid family and medical leave, long-term health care for families at home. If you have a sick sibling or parent or whatever, that you have health care at home that is trained and well paid and in my view, unionized. So it is, we can make work more family friendly with doing some more things for families in terms of health care and child care and dealing with needs of our seniors. And as far as Medicare, Social Security, they paid into this. This is not an entitlement. This is their money. They paid into this for their whole working careers. And now they're going to say, we're going to cut this out because we need to save money so we can give tax cuts to the richest people in America. No, we're not doing that. They want to take $800 billion out of the Energy and Commerce Committee budget, okay, $800 billion to make an assault on Medicaid, excuse me, that's Medicare. Medicare is on the Ways and Means. Medicaid is Energy and Commerce. But all of them, very important to the American people. So let's reframe. Let's just take it to a place where for families, we have better opportunities, child care, child tax credit, as I mentioned, home health care, a family and paid, we have family medical leave, paid family and medical leave, issues like that that make it more friendly, family friendly. Let us provide good paying jobs for people so that when they're paying into their Social Security, their pensions will be even more substantial than they are. But these are all decisions that the Democrats have, that's our existence. That's our existence from the 1930s. That's all these things came to be. I'm very proud of the Affordable Care Act. We had Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, pillars of economic and financial security for families. And then when we got the Affordable Care Act, that was another pillar of health and financial security for America's families. But we always want to do more and to do better. Reframe.
With all that is apparently being lost in the DOGE-related cuts, President Trump's cuts to the government, to university funding, really just remaking the federal government and limiting the scope of it, can what's be lost be restored, in your view, if Democrats do win the House in the midterms, or if Democrats win the presidency in 2028?
When we win the House in 2026, and when we win the White House in 2028, we will continue to do wonderful things, but in a more innovative, entrepreneurial way, because the world changes. It doesn't stay the same. We take advantage of better opportunities that are there, communication-wise and every other way. But the near election is the election to win the Congress in 2 years, a year and a half. Now, in order to win in a year and a half, you have to really win a year in advance. So the next 5-6 months are crucial to us to make sure that we are as strong as possible as we attract the A-team of candidates to come to the Congress. This is what we did. This is what we did in 2018. The president, well, I guess he's current president. Well, he was president then. And he said in a very distinguished way, as he's used to speaking, Obamacare sucks. I hate to even quote him, but I hope my grandchildren aren't listening. Obamacare sucks. It doesn't suck, It cures. It cures. So that's what we did. We went out there. We had 10,000 events around the country, people telling their stories. They didn't talk about politics or provisions of the bill. They talked about their stories. My baby was born with a heart condition. My wife had breast cancer. My mother this or that. They told their stories and how that bill made a difference in their lives. Not only did we win the election, we won it with 40 seats, 31 of them in Trump districts. People said to me afterward, aren't you lucky that Affordable Care Act, that health care became such a central issue of the campaign? I said, no, we weren't lucky. We made our own luck. And that's what we will do between now and the election, reframe the conversation from these questions that people ask with new, fresh leadership, understanding the new technologies on how to communicate and by whom, to whom, the way people receive their information, and attracting the A-team of candidates to take back the House. We only need 3 seats. As I said, in 2018, we won 40 seats, 31 in Trump district. We will win the House. Hakeem will be the Speaker. He'll be historic in his leadership, as well as the other members of the leadership as well. And all of it because of the courage of our members to take the tough votes, to get the job done.
I want to ask you about Ukraine, because in 2022, you at the time were the highest ranking U.S. official to physically go to Ukraine and meet with President Zelensky. It appears Ukraine is moving toward a land for peace deal with the Trump administration still, President Trump refusing to call out Moscow and Vladimir Putin as the aggressor. And in this deal, where it appears the Trump administration is giving Moscow pretty much everything that it wants, with few exceptions. How does all of that strike you, and what are the implications, not just for Ukraine, but for the role of the West moving forward?
Well, let me just say the Russia thing is really strange. I'm always quoting Ronald Reagan to my colleagues. He made the best speech of anybody on immigration. Last speech I will make as President of the United States. Google it. I don't have time to recite it to you here, and I wouldn't do it justice. Immigration, I said. Now, the other one, what he's talked about Russia and how Mr. Gorbachev tear down this wall, follow what Ronald Reagan said about all of this. And most recently, follow what he said about tariffs. Just go look at his speech of 1988 and what he said about tariffs. And these demagogues who go around as protectionists wrapped in a American flag, Ronald Reagan. So let's get to Ronald Reagan on this Russia thing. I have no idea what it is that Putin has on Trump, politically, personally, financially, whatever it happens to be, that he should be kowtowing to Putin over and over again, saying that the Ukrainians started the war. Let's forget about that. Here's what I think about what you just said. I followed this issue every day currently, and I communicate with the leadership in Ukraine about this, especially speaker to speaker, even now. Even though I'm not speaker now. They came into this country. They raped the women. They did that in front of their children and in front of their parents. They kidnapped the children, tens of thousands of them, and sent them to Russia, far reaches of Russia. They murdered people in front of their family members. And they're supposed to get land for that? That's not where I am. But I'm not the president of Ukraine. I'll respect whatever decision he makes. But for us to say Russia should get land in order to leave after they've committed crimes against humanity, crimes against humanity. I don't even think Putin can go anyplace without getting arrested for his crimes against humanity. At least Europe others recognize that, even if Donald Trump thinks that's okay. So I wish them well. I pray for them. They have fought for their democracy and therefore for our democracy, for everyone's democracy. They had so much courage. Putin's already lost. He thought he was going to go in there in a week and take over. It's a long time since then. It's 3 years since he went in there with that thing he was selling. This is a villain on the world scene, and the president kowtows to him. But let's hope he will see the light soon and understand that this is a fight between democracy and autocracy. Putin, others are going down that path, but the United States of America is the democracy, the vision of our founders about this free country of ours, the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform for fighting for freedom, ours and others, and the aspiration of our children to make sure they live in a free, democratic country. The Ukrainians are fighting for all of that, for all of us. We owe them support. And I myself just don't, I said to somebody once, isn't it sad how the Russian troops are so brutalized? I guess that's what happens more. People get brutal. And the person who knows Russia well said, make no mistake, Russian soldiers don't do anything they are not told to do. This is Putin telling them, rape, kidnap, kill civilians. So that's what we're dealing with here. Now he wants land, he wants a reward of land for doing that. But again, we have to respect the wishes of the Ukrainian people. They must be at the table. The President Zelensky must be at the table to negotiate that, not Putin and Donald Trump alone.
Speaker Pelosi, we have a few minutes left, and in that time I want to ask you two questions. What was the hardest vote to whip or to push through? And what are you proudest of? When people think about you and your legacy, what do you want them to lead with?
Well, the second part of your question, of course, the Affordable Care Act. because this was directly beneficial to America's working family, America's families. It's about health care, and it's about financial health care, financial stability as well. But without legislation, you want to do more. You want to do more in terms of lowering the cost of prescription drugs. We did that in the IRA, but we can't do it totally. We have to do it in stages, and I would like to do it all at once, but we have to get it passed in the Congress. The other, what is the hardest thing? Well, I always knew we had the vote, so that wasn't. But I will tell you what was hard. Let me tell you what was hard for me. If I think back about what was the hardest legislative, it's not necessarily exactly the way you frame the question, but reframing the question is this. When President Obama was president, we passed the Affordable Care Act. We could not have done it without him. He was visionary, inspirational, strategic, I mean, just remarkable. And it was wonderful to work with him. When we lost the House after that, the president was still president, and Republicans would put forth resolutions that were dangerous to the Affordable Care Act, but they sounded good. I always say that, you know, it's doggy-doo when they try to sell it as chocolate ice cream, and some people think that that's what it is. And I say to the members, this is a terrible bill. You cannot vote for this. We must have enough votes to just sustain President Obama's veto, because this is destructive to them. And they had, like, I don't know, 75 of these. They had these things all the time to undermine the Affordable Care Act, if not repeal. And members would say to me, no, this sounds good in my district, and I know my district better than you do. And to which I would respond, I certainly hope so. But I know the Affordable Care Act better than you do. And this is destructive to the Affordable Care Act. So I need your vote. So we had so many new members who really were sincere and well-spoken and representative of their district, which is our job title and our job description. But I had to hold enough votes to sustain the president's veto. So that's not passing a bill, that's saving a bill. That was the hardest thing I had to do.
Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi.
My pride is in the
Thank you. You might not be able to hear it, but there's a lot of applause in the room here for you.
Thank you, PBS.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
House Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi, my apologies for having my back to you during all of that, but as you can imagine. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back here with the remainder of our Reframe Festival celebration. Thank you all.